Welcome. I'm PJ Dowsing Bowie, the Field Education Coordinator in the Southern Region for the National Union. Just to give you a little background on me, I have almost 40 years of experience in the labor movement. The first half of my career was spent as a staff representative, and the remaining years I've been a labor educator. Over the years, I have mentored countless numbers of members as well as staff. When the education department started formally designing mentoring programs, my thoughts drifted back to the labor educator that mentored me. He would ask me to assist him in various training projects and special events. Since our mentoring relationship was informal, and at the time I was young and naive, I was totally unaware that I was being mentored. But look at me now, I'm a labor educator. His words of wisdom to me were, never let him see you sweat. I recently ran into him and thanked him for supporting me in my growth. Now, let's take a look at our learning goals for today's webinar. As a participant, you will learn what works in developing excellent union leaders through mentoring, review a model for mentoring, know what you have to offer as a mentor, and commit to seeking out at least one mentee immediately following the webinar. This is a short module designed for people who are seeking to be a mentor to members who are activists and who are ready to step up in the labor movement. What they need is your support. This is an opportunity to share your knowledge, skills, and wisdom with future union leaders. Unions have a long history of informal mentoring. Today, we're going to focus our attention on the more formal aspects of mentoring. So let's dive right in. What is mentoring? Mentoring is the relationship between two people that focus on developing knowledge, skills, and leadership for union activism. Mentoring is a vehicle for current leaders to develop and grow the next generation of leaders. This enables leaders to pass the baton to younger workers and activists. Mentoring can be especially beneficial for women, providing the support they need to move up in the ranks. Take a good look around. What do you see happening in the workplace and in your local union? Are there enough new leaders identified to keep the movement alive? I venture to say that we're all in the same leadership crisis that is impacting the labor movement. Mentoring usually happens when a need arises. There's definitely a need to build leadership teams that reflect membership racially, by age, and sex. The mentor often acts in the role of a counselor, guide, and an advisor. It is a means of support, giving the mentee an opportunity to talk with people who've been through the same thing that they're often going through. How can mentoring benefit your local union? Mentoring can be very beneficial to unions now more than ever, at a time when many experienced leaders are retiring from the movement, not to mention the battles that are on the horizon. The labor movement needs to identify, recruit, and develop a cadre of new leaders. Some of these benefits are it increases union solidarity, it increases visibility in leadership, it transfers knowledge and experience, develops new activists and leaders prepared to serve their union. And finally, mentoring can help unions identify barriers that women and people of color face as they attempt to advance in the labor movement. The key to establishing an effective mentoring habit is to schedule an introductory meeting as soon as possible after the mentoring relationship has been confirmed, both to get to know each other and to discuss shared goals and expectations for the relationship. A mentoring relationship is a commitment of time as well as energy. Pre-plan your logistics. Be sure that both parties take their agreement seriously. It's important to clarify expectations, such as the time span of the mentoring relationship, how often you will meet and for how long. Will you meet face-to-face or by phone? And don't forget, we now have Skype. I suggest that if possible, you try a mixture of methods. Initially, you may want to start meeting face-to-face and move to contacting each other by phone or by Skype. You and the mentee can determine which method meets both of your needs. Personally, I'm a face-to-face person. If you decide the phone or Skype works better, be sure to decide who will initiate the call. Nothing is worse than sitting by the phone, waiting and waiting. Remember, keep appointments. After all, everyone's time is valuable. Determine how cancellations and rescheduling will be handled. Let's review some methods that will prove to be helpful in creating a meaningful mentoring relationship. Be present. Be curious. Be authentic. Be committed. Be willing to stretch. What do I mean when I say that as a mentor, you need to be present? Just that. Be there for the mentee, focused and listening to what they are sharing with you. As I heard someone say, when you are stirring the pot, just stir the pot. Not thinking about the next thing on your list to do or what you want to say next. Above all, I encourage you to always remain curious. Curiosity is the human connection. It is the key to having authentic connection with your mentee because you're showing a genuine interest in them. Over the years, I've said that the work in the labor movement is relational. I encourage you to lean in and be curious. What has worked for me is I listen with my heart. I listen to what's being said as well as what's not being said. How do you remain curious, you might ask? By asking open-ended questions. Invite the mentee to be their own problem solver. Ask open-ended questions. Why is always a good lead-in to a question. What do you think? Tell me more about that. What could you have done differently? How does that make you feel? Invite the mentee to be their own problem solver. To use self-reflection as a valuable tool to come up with their own answers and solutions. Most importantly, try to steer them away from disaster. After all, many of us have gone down the road that is less traveled and know where the booby traps are. For instance, on a number of occasions, I have mentored members who are ready to go out and conquer the world, well, or at least their own local union, and to decide they're running for local union office. What's the way to go? These are the questions that I would often ask them. Why do you want to run? What would help you win? What are the consequences if you don't win? And what support do you have? After getting them to explore all their options, and of course the final decision is theirs, some would reconsider and others would forge ahead, with not good results, I might add. Frequently, when the mentee loses, the blowback can be devastating. One or two things happen. They are disenfranchised with the process and want to disengage from their union, or the current leadership no longer trusts them. I encourage them to hang in there and ask them to think in terms of lessons learned. So we're going to do a brief skills check. And the questions are true and false, true or false, rather. Mentoring is a relationship between two people that focus on developing knowledge, skills, and leadership for union activism. True or false? And we have 100% true. It is definitely a relationship where really both the mentor and the mentee look at developing skills and leadership for union activism. Thank you very much. The mentor gets to make the final decision on the method of contact with the mentee. So we have 92% false and 8% true. Definitely, we would like the mentor and the mentee to come up with a method of contact that will work for both of them. So the answer to that is false. Thank you. The mentor invites the mentee to come up with their own answers. "100% true." We do want the mentee, we want the mentees to come up with their own answers and really stretch that muscle that helps them be more self-confident in what they come up with in the future. Thank you. So let's continue on. Authentic communication. Take responsibility for your communication. Be clear so that you're not misunderstood. Avoid ambiguous language, terms, and acronyms. You know, we're often guilty of this in the labor movement. Don't overgeneralize using sweeping statements such as, "Nobody thinks it's a good idea," or "This always happens when." Be factual. Avoid second guessing and making assumptions about what others are thinking or feeling. Be consistent. Your words should match your actions, and you should always endeavor to do what you say. Trust is important in the mentor-mentee relationship. The mentee will be sharing many details of their work life, such as their career, goals, their frustrations, and their vulnerabilities. Trust is critical in these conversations. It's almost ironic that the most important aspect of communication is not speaking, but listening. Listening is at the heart of the mentoring process. Having someone really listen to what you're saying is a profound experience. I can't say enough that as a mentor, you will spend a great deal of time listening to the mentee and being their mirror. Now let's talk about how to integrate commitment into the mentoring process. You want the mentee to be committed to the real work of the union. Periodically, throughout the mentoring relationship, it's a good idea to help the mentee find opportunities to step up their activism in their local union. This is what we often call testing the member. You will want to come up with concrete tasks. In your role as their mentor, you will follow up with the mentee and give them feedback on their progress. For example, the mentee may try their hand at chairing a meeting or organizing an event. As their mentor, you will be able to role play how it might go and share stories of your own experience. After all, you want to move the mentee to action and provide them with support. At the end of the mentoring relationship, it is important that you and the mentee identify concrete ways that the mentee can continue to increase ways of activism within their union. Finally, stretch to new limits. Stretching is defined as a form of physical exercise in which a specific muscle or tendon is deliberately flexed or stretched in order to improve the muscle elasticity and achieve comfortable muscle tone. The result is a feeling of increased muscle control, flexibility, and range of motion. If we transfer this definition to the mentoring relationship, the mentor will help the mentee to stretch to new limits by suggesting ways to go up a notch higher. It is so easy to become comfortable. Encourage the mentee to step outside of their comfort zone, to stretch themselves to a new limit. For instance, I know public speaking might be a stretch for a lot of mentees. This will help the mentee to grow if they feel a bit of discomfort. I would venture to say that the mentoring relationship will not only stretch the mentee, but it will stretch you as the mentor. Here are some things you might want to consider and be willing to share about yourself with your mentee. Where are you now? Describe your current position and responsibilities. What are you doing that you never dreamed that you would be doing 10 or 15 years ago? Share information about your own history and experiences. Share information about your experiences. Sharing information about your experiences may help mentees respond to challenges they confront and to identify effective strategies for growth and change. This will provide insights to the mentee that often a career path can be a winding road, not a straight path to arrive at your desired destination. Knowledge and skills. This is an excellent opportunity for self-reflection as a mentor. What knowledge and skills do you bring to the mentoring relationship? I would venture to say more than you realize. You may want to take pen and paper and list your skills that you have acquired over the years. You're already and not a mentee in sight. How do you find someone to mentor? Here are a few suggestions. If you have someone in mind, of course you can just approach them, saying to them that you've noticed them and would like to offer some support. Or you can make an announcement at your local union meeting or committees, such as the Women's Committee or the Next Wave Committee meeting. A few parting words. There is something to be said about the far-reaching effects of the mentoring relationship. It has to be organic and mutually beneficial. The dichotomy is that there is an entity within the labor movement that view up-and-coming leaders as a threat to their existence. If we don't embrace our new activists and our young workers, the labor movement runs the risk of becoming stagnant. We must assure the current leadership that by embracing new activists, we are building a support network within the union to continue to fight for working families. So now, let's just take a final knowledge check. Mentors ask the mentee open-ended questions to prompt self-reflection. %. We do want them to continue to think on their own and be have a lot of introspect about who they are. Since you are the mentor, it is your responsibility to set the goals for the mentee. False. 80% false, 20% true. And maybe this is a trick question. I would say definitely you want the mentee to set their own goals, but as a mentor, it is also your responsibility to work with them to make sure that their goals are smart goals and they're attainable. So you all will be working together on setting the mentee's goals. Thank you. It is not your responsibility as a mentor to push the mentee out of their comfort zone. We have 60% false and we have 40% true. And I would say that definitely it is one of your major responsibilities to keep pushing your mentee. Like I said earlier, people can become comfortable where they are. So I would say the answer to that is false. And thank you. I want to share with you the resource that we have available, which is the Next Generation, a handbook for mentoring future union leaders. And it's from the Burger Marx organization.
So if this is the first time you've joined one of our classes, or if you have missed some of our previously offered classes, we have a video archive that is on the AFSCME website. If you go to www.afscme.org/video, you can view our video archive. We have a whole host of classes there. We have classes on 7 Tests of Just Cause, FMLA, Weingarten rights, discipline and discharge. There are many classes there, and every time that we do one of these webinars, we actually post it within 2 weeks of producing the class. So I would suggest you go there and probably seek out some of the videos that pique your interest, because we have a lot that are there. We do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us today. I want to give a special thanks to our presenter, Ms. PJ.
Oh, you're welcome, Shondell.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We hope you thoroughly enjoyed this webinar.